I could feel my pulse in my throat before he even spoke the words. The hum of the fluorescent lights overhead felt like a stalled second hand, ticking without moving. I sat at my desk, papers meticulously organized, inbox zero, while Jonas leaned back in his chair, 3 workstations down, earbuds in, scrolling through Instagram. When my boss, Martin, cleared his throat and beckoned me into his office, I was sure it was my moment. I'd spent the last 6 months leading every project, staying late to finesse proposals, mentoring new hires on my own time. I'd earned this promotion, right? Take a seat, Angela, Martin said, gesturing to the chair opposite his polished desk. His voice was calm, too calm. My stomach dropped into the pit of my jeans. You wanted to see me? I asked, sliding into the seat and smoothing the front of my blouse. He nodded, eyes fixed on a sheet of paper I couldn't yet see. The seconds stretched out, taut as a wire. Finally, he leaned back. I want to talk about the senior coordinator position. I swallowed. Great. I know you thought you'd be next. He tapped the paper. We've decided to offer it to Jonas. My chest tightened. Jonas, the guy who took smoke breaks during conference calls and spent company time polishing his fantasy football lineup. The one who turned in half-hearted drafts and couldn't tell an Excel pivot table from a corn tortilla. Martin squared his shoulders. Jonas has been doing solid work in client services. His relationships with key accounts have grown, and we're aiming to expand our footprint in the Midwest. He's the right fit for that expansion. My world tilted. Excuse me? The words were sharp. Jonas? The new guy? The one who spent half of last quarter on 2 weeks vacation? I know it seems sudden, Martin said, steepling his fingers. But leadership saw that he brings a fresh perspective, and honestly, he's got a knack for sales pitches. We need that on board now. I wanted to laugh, to scream. I've closed the Matthews deal twice in a row. I revamped our onboarding process, saving the company 30% in churn costs. I authored the white paper that got us featured in Industry Weekly. Those aren't not solid work. They're leadership. He opened a drawer, withdrew a printed resignation letter. My resignation letter, signed and dated this morning. I also received this. You don't have to hand it in now, Angela. If you want to stay, we can discuss a path forward. My resignation. I drafted it at home last night, every word burning off my fingers. I'd been furious when I learned they were interviewing Jonas for the senior coordinator role, furious enough to type out exacting paragraphs about feeling undervalued, about the waste of institutional knowledge, when rising to send my final email. I pressed send at 2:03 a.m. After a fitful sleep, I'd copied and pasted it on my way in, proof that I was serious. Martin slid the letter across the desk. Is this how you want to go? I stared at the crisp paper. The letter began, after 5 years of dedication, I cannot remain in an environment that overlooks merit. The next lines recounted my contributions in cold detail. I felt both relief and terror at his acknowledgement. I lifted my gaze. You read it? He nodded. I did. And I've spoken to HR. If you withdraw it, we can reevaluate your role, offer additional responsibilities, maybe a specialized director track. I laughed, half humor, half hysteria. So now you suddenly appreciate me? When I mentor your interns, when I stay till midnight to finalize your sloppy briefings. Heat flamed up my neck. You want to keep me, but first you promote the underperformer. Martin leaned forward. You're the best at what you do, Angela. But you're also our safety net. You keep the train on the tracks. Jonas is a calculated risk we decided to take. We need someone unpredictable in that coordinator seat. Someone who can shake up stagnant accounts. Unpredictable? My voice was raw. He shakes up accounts by nearly losing them with an unscripted joke. He's unpredictable because he doesn't do prep, and he missed the Henderson meeting last week. He apologized, Martin said softly. That counts for something. I took a shuddering breath. Martin, I don't need an apology. I need recognition. If you can't see that, maybe the resignation stands. His jaw tightened. Don't throw away everything you've built here. He raked a hand through his thinning hair. You're not just another employee. You're the backbone of this department. Losing you would hurt us, hurt our clients. You know that, don't you? My throat closed. I'd framed that resignation to showcase professionalism, damaged pride masked in corporate dignity, but now it felt like a noose. I looked at the date. It said today. I could sign it, tuck it back into the envelope, walk out with my head held high. But the thought of leaving felt worse than staying for 6 more months of resentment. I almost told him that. Almost said I'd stay if he'd just admit his mistake. But pride pulsed in my ears, thunderous. Instead, I said, I need time. His expression softened. Of course. He stood and walked around the desk, placing a hand on my shoulder. Go home. Think it over. I'll check in tomorrow. I nodded numbly, stood, and walked out before I could say yes or no. Back at my desk, the hum of my computer and the tangle of yellow sticky notes stared at me. Jonas peeked up from his cubicle. Everything okay? He asked with that oblivious half grin. I forced a nod. Fine. Big news. His eyebrows shot up. Yeah? He sat back, stretching. About my promotion? I'm excited. I managed a tight smile. Congrats. Every syllable felt like a jab. Well earned. His grin faltered. Thanks. I know you were in line too. I appreciate you covering for me. I bit back the retort. Covering? Sure. Heat surged through me. He spun back to his screen, oblivious. My congratulations landed hollow, ricocheting off the drab cubicle walls. The day passed in a blur. Back-to-back calls, emails that blurred into one another. HR emails offering alternative roles. By evening, the office emptied, desks whirring with shut-down computers. I packed my bag, laptop, charger, the resignation letter folded in its envelope. I paused at Martin's office door, hand hovering. My nameplate glinted. I remembered our first meeting, how he'd praised my analytical skills, encouraged me to take a leadership course. He'd been my mentor. Now I was about to hand in my notice because of a foolish promotion. My phone buzzed, a text from my fiancé, Kyle. Thinking of you. Dinner tonight? I stared at the message. I could cancel, duck into resignation oblivion. But I needed light, needed someone outside these fluorescent halls. I typed back, yes, see you at 7. I returned the letter envelope to my bag. Tomorrow I'd decide. Maybe I'd hand it in, walk away from broken promises. Or maybe I'd let Martin have one more chance. I took a deep breath, shook out my shoulders, and flipped on the light by my desk. As I shut down my PC, I realized that the final line of that resignation letter, I wish the company continued success, had never felt more real. But as I locked my drawer, I wasn't sure if continued success should be my success or theirs. When I slid into my chair the next morning, the resignation envelope was still tucked inside my messenger bag, like a sleeping cobra, coiled and ready to strike. My phone buzzed with a single message from Martin. Coffee? My office. 9 a.m. I stared at it for a long minute. Was this a chance at redemption, or the beginning of a messy farewell tour? By 8:58 a.m., I was outside Martin's door, clutching a double-shot latte like a lifeline. I took a deep breath before knocking. Come in, he called, voice measured. He stood behind his desk, arms folded, that same half-smile on his face. Thanks for meeting me, he said, nodding at the coffee. Sat through HR training on employee engagements all week. Figured I'd start practicing. I let out a short laugh. Glad someone does. He gestured to the visitor's chair. Sit. Before we talk business, how's your weekend? Did you ever make it to that art gallery you mentioned? I paused. This gentle pivot was new. I did. I saw that installation by Riley. The one about neglected urban spaces. He nodded as if he'd been there himself. Thought of you. How you spot improvements nobody else sees, and turn chaos into opportunity. A flicker of warmth bloomed in my chest. Thanks. He uncrossed his arms. Angela, yesterday was rough. I want you to know I hear you. I felt my guard wobble. I appreciate that. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk. Jonas's promotion isn't a slight on you. It's a strategic move to diversify our team's approach. But that doesn't justify hurting you. And I'm sorry it came out of the blue. I studied his face. Was he sincere? Part of me wanted to tell him what I really thought, that his strategic moves were often last-minute panics, and that he'd been so eager to chase new clients, he'd trampled longtime contributors. But I held back. Okay, I said. Let's assume I don't hand in my resignation. What changes? He straightened and cracked his knuckles. First, we're renaming your role lead strategist. Effective immediately. No more the safety net. I want you spearheading the Midwest expansion. Design the playbook Jonas will execute. I blinked. So you give me the strategy and he executes it? He nodded. You build the model, the forecasts, the training. He implements on the front lines. Complementary strengths. Your analytical precision. His client-facing flair. I considered it. This was more responsibility, more visibility. But it also meant mentoring the guy whose promotion had felt like a slap in the face. And compensation? I asked, voice steady. He tapped a number into his tablet and slid it across. The new salary was a 15% raise, money I'd asked for 6 months ago but was told not in the budget. I inhaled. It was fair. Better than fair. My temples pulsed with relief and lingering resentment. Second, he continued, quarterly bonus structure tied to performance metrics you and I will set together. You'll have full autonomy within reason. I let that sink in. Autonomy. Recognition. A seat at the decision-making table. It almost sounded too good to be true. He leaned back. Third, the team will rotate. You'll have a junior strategist reporting to you, and Jonas will rotate through your projects so he can learn the strategic side. I want a two-way street. I nodded slowly. A two-way street. He folded his hands, brow creasing with sincerity. I want you to stay, Angela. We need you. In that hushed moment, I felt the old frustration clash with new possibility. Part of me yearned to grab the letter from my bag and feel the relief of walking away. Another part craved this recognition, to be valued the way I'd always deserved. I cleared my throat. I need one thing, I said carefully. He raised an eyebrow. Name it. I looked him in the eye. Honesty. If you say I'm the backbone of this department, I need to believe it comes from you, not from HR presentations. I need feedback, real feedback, before I start building a strategy Jonas will own. He smiled, genuinely pleased. Deal. He reached across and shook my hand. The touch was firm, a silent pact. Welcome aboard. By the end of the day, I drafted a preliminary strategy blueprint, identified key performance indicators, and scheduled training sessions with Jonas. Walking to my car, I felt a curious mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. I'd almost quit, but I stayed. Sometimes, a vote of confidence, even a belated one, is enough to rekindle your own. That evening, I met Kyle at our favorite Thai place downtown. He greeted me with a hug so warm, I almost melted into the booth. Big day? He asked between bites of pad thai. I smiled. You could say that. He reached across the table. Tell me everything. I laughed and launched into the story, the shock of Jonas's promotion, the resignation letter drafted at 2 a.m., the unexpected olive branch from Martin. With every word, I felt lighter, as if the weight on my shoulders was redistributing into something sustainable. Sounds like you won, Kyle said, eyes dancing. I paused. I think I did. He winked. Congratulations, boss. Later, sitting in our living room over glass after glass of red wine, I drafted a new email, an announcement to the team about my new title and role. I carefully crafted each sentence, inclusive, forward-looking, diplomatic. About halfway through, I paused and deleted the words excited to see what Jonas brings to the table. Instead, I wrote, confident our complementary strengths will drive the Midwest initiative. More honest. More me. I hit send. Later, when I finally fell asleep, it was knowing I'd reclaimed my narrative. The final line of my original resignation letter, I wish the company continued success, had become a bridge rather than a farewell. I'd stayed, not because the grass was greener elsewhere, but because I realized I had the power to shape our future from within. Tomorrow, Jonas and I would sit down over coffee, no earbuds this time, and plan our first co-presentation. I'd show him the playbook, invite his input, and watch the nervous anticipation give way to curious enthusiasm. Together we would build something neither of us could achieve alone. And from that day forward, whenever the office buzzed with fear of change, I'd remember the moment I nearly walked away, and how a single conversation, grounded in respect and honesty, changed the course of my career. Because sometimes the final line of resignation isn't an ending, it's the beginning of a new chapter.